Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for Spirit, the stimulating program initiative for retirees that inspires thought. I'm Judi Steinig, Director of Community Programs for the Orthodox Union, and it's my honor to coordinate and host this program. The OU started Spirit several years ago as an on-site program, and now we're happy to present it as an online program for retirees, not yet retirees, empty nesters, baby boomers, sandwich generation parents, and seniors. Everybody who's looking for educational, intellectual, and spiritual growth. Now, during the pandemic, Spirit has become the perfect way for each one of us to engage in a virtual setting. Today, we are continuing our series of Rediscover and Relocate to provide independent community living options for older adults. I am delighted to welcome Mrs. Maureen Fox and Ms. Marilyn Levine to our program today. Maureen Fox is originally from Chicago, Illinois, where she handled customer service for company employee benefits prior to her retirement. She has lived in the Kings Point section of Delray Beach for 7 years and belongs to Congregation Anshe Amuna. In non-COVID times, Bimhei Ravi Yamenu, she enjoys spending the summer months with her children and grandchildren in Chicago. Marilyn Levine is a resident of Bayside, Queens, New York, and is retired from the New York City Department of Education, where she was a special education teacher working with mentally retarded children for 30 years. She became a snowbird in Century Village, Deerfield Beach last winter prior to COVID. This is her second winter in sunny Florida, and she is enjoying every minute of it. So we want to thank Marilyn and Maureen for joining us, and I'm going to spotlight them so that everybody can see them. Okay, and we're going to start in a second. Okay, so Marilyn and Maureen, thank you again for venturing to be my guest today. So I want to start and ask you first, how did either of you decide to pick the communities in which you are living now? And the other question would be, is it a full-time residency or are you a snowbird? Of course, COVID might not apply this, but in a normal non-COVID time. So Maureen, I'm going to start with you. How did you decide to pick Delray Beach?
I chose Delray Beach because I had a friend living there, and the house that I bought, the condo, was 2 doors down from them. So I thought, great, I've got an audience right away. And I do stay here most of the year. I go home for part of the summer.
Hopefully, with God's help.
Yes, well, I all pre-COVID, of course.
So it was absolutely, you picked Delray. You weren't choosing from other areas. You knew you were going to Delray because you had friends here. Okay.
I knew I was going to be here, yes.
Got it. Marilyn, how about you? How did you come to Deerfield and what's your situation?
I'm a snowbird. For many years, I thought about getting a condo in Florida. I was looking for an over 55 community with a lot of activities, but it had to have an Orthodox shul. So I knew of Century Boca and Century Deerfield. I spoke to a friend in New York who had an apartment in Deerfield and whose mother had an apartment in Boca. And she said the apartments in Deerfield are easier walking distance to the shul than the apartments in Boca. Because originally I thought I was going to look in Boca. So I was in Florida and a friend of a friend was showing me around. And when she was showing me around, a friend of hers told her about this apartment. And that's how I came to Deerfield.
Okay, well, that certainly works. Now, for either one of you, what is your, let's say, support system in Florida? Do you have family, family and friends for, when you really need somebody? Marilyn, you want to take that one first?
Friends that I've met here. starting from when I was looking for an apartment. Once I decided on this apartment, a woman who lives here practically took me by the hand. She told me a lawyer who could help me. She gave me the name of an engineer to do the inspection, helped me with every part, with things that I never even knew that I needed. So yes, I found friends here.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. So I would gather to say, I would venture to say that you're not finding, like sometimes people come into a community, it's too cliquish, it's too this. If you're saying that you're already finding brand new friends, that's obviously a very welcoming and wonderful experience. Do you want to just tell us which part of Deerfield you're in, so people would know that?
In Upminster K, which is in walking distance to the shul.
So that totally works. Okay, and family wise,
My father and my brother live in Tamarack, which is about 20 minutes, 30-minute drive.
Okay, but it's important to have people close by, and you have it right there. Okay. Maureen, how about you? Do you have any family and friends? You said you came in for a friend, so that's wonderful. But I assume you've made other friends. And do you have any family nearby?
Unfortunately, I don't have family nearby, but I am so lucky I have the show. It's the backup is just fantastic. If I ask for something, it's there. Everybody is just a delight. And to be very truthful, my rabbi and my Rebbetzin are fantastic.
So you want to give them a shout out? What are their names?
Rabbi Jack Engel and Rabbi Rebbetzin Miriam Engel, and also Rabbi Klein and his wife, Miriam. We're very, very fortunate to have a very, very great group of people here. The show is very, very, it's very accepting of everybody. And I find that makes me overjoyed.
That's beautiful. I would imagine in Deerfield also, Marilyn, I assume you have many different types of people, different religious. I mean, you've got a ton of people in Deerfield. They have to span a group, a wide group, I imagine.
Yes, our shul, there's people with knitted kippahs, there's people with black hats, there's people with strimals. So we really have quite a range. And then there's also a separate Sephardi minyan. So yes, we have just about everyone in our shul.
You span the Torah spectrum.
Yes, we do.
Okay, and I hope in both communities people get along, as well as Jews get along with somebody who's different. That's something we all have to work on wherever we are.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So how long did it take, Maureen, I'll ask you first, from the time that you decided to make this move 7 years ago? Do you remember how long did it take to make all of the arrangements? You bought your place, or to move out? How did that all work for you?
Well, I still have my house in Chicago, so I didn't really totally move. We bought the house in January, and we came down in March or April for the first Pesach. And we spent Pesach here and then closed the house down and came back down in November. And I spent the whole winter and spring here. Mm-hmm. And we were very lucky. This was like what they call a turnkey house. It was furnished and you just had to walk in. And unfortunately, if you weren't kosher, it would have been great. I had to get rid of her other stuff in the dishwasher, but it saved me the problem because I had furniture there. I didn't have to go run it and look for furniture.
Okay, that's certainly a big help. And Marilyn, how about you? Yours is much more recent, so I'm sure you can remember it a lot more.
I believe I came down in about February looking at apartments. And I closed in May. So I stayed here for about 2 weeks. But as Maureen said, I guess it's called a turnkey apartment. It was totally furnished, beautiful tiles on the floor. The only thing I wanted to change was my bedroom. So that was done. I had picked out furniture in New York. And so I made arrangements for it to be delivered during those 2 weeks and to get the other furniture out. But I did a lot of shopping, odds and ends, things for the bathroom. I had bought dishes and linens and towels and things like that. So, and little odds and ends that needed to be bought. So I did all that for the 2 weeks that I was down here. And then I came back in the winter. And then in March, when I was supposed to return to New York, that was the epicenter of the world with COVID. So I ended up staying in Florida till June 30th.
You were very lucky. It wasn't a pretty sight up here.
Right.
And Queens was definitely the epicenter of it. Absolutely. Let me ask each of you, though, while we're talking about arrangements and things like that. So, Marilyn, when you're not snowbirding down in Florida and you come back up to Queens, what do you do about how is the apartment cared for? You know, is that a concern?
Not at all. There's this concept called, oh, now I can't think what it's called, where someone has to condo watcher. Okay, so you must have a condo watcher. If you don't live here full time, you must have a condo watcher. And it's very reasonable, $25 a month. And that person comes, when you leave, that person winterizes or whatever your condo, as far as the water, the electricity, the air conditioning, the humidifier. And then that person comes, I think every 2 weeks to check up on your apartment. And so, no, I have no worries about my apartment when I'm not here. It's wonderful.
That is terrific. Is there anything like that, Maureen and Delray? I mean, you're only gone for a short time, but still.
Well, I'm still gone for 2 months, and I do that. We have a gentleman, a company, and they come in, and they come in twice a month, and they check your apartment. They fix it and make sure it's, for me, it's not winterized because it's during the summer.
No, summarize then.
It's summarized, and they set the thermostat, set the humidifier, and if there's any problems, they will call your service for you. And it's very, very lovely, and it's a very, very reasonable situation. And I've been doing that all the years that I go back for the summer.
I think that's amazing. I wish we had that around here for anybody going away. Well, I know sometimes people in New York, our next door neighbors are away, and they have people that shovel the snow because we've had lots of snow that you
I
Florida
heard of
tons of snow. So yeah, so that's a wonderful idea to have somebody just watching, and you come back in and you're not coming back into some kind of a nightmare. It's beautiful.
No, and you're coming back. You call them the day before you come back or 2 days before you come back and tell them you're coming back. They will come back and set the air conditioner up so that it's cooler, because they turn it up, of course, when you leave. And they will turn down or up the humidifier, take off the plastics and everything they've put in. And you just walk in and hello, house.
Beautiful. Marilyn, the same, something similar?
Yes. Yes, I let him know when I'm coming back, and I'll even arrange for someone to clean the apartment for me before I come in. So everything's spick and span and ready for me. Even wash the linen, so whatever's been sitting there for a few months is clean.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. In moving to a different place, of course, everybody always has to be concerned about healthcare. I'm sure different states have different laws. We're not going to go into that, but just in a general basis, how have you found making healthcare arrangements? Now, Marilyn, yours is only a short time during the year, and Maureen. So, Maureen, we'll start with you. You've had a number of years to make these changes. Are you totally comfortable with the way everything is in Florida?
I'm getting used to it. I will tell you something. When I lived in Chicago, if you had a doctor and you landed up in the hospital, that doctor would visit you in the hospital. In Florida, there is something called a hospitalist, and I don't know if this is spread to the other states now. So there's a doctor that sees you in the hospital that doesn't see you at all. He just reports to your doctor. So it's a little bit different. My doctors and everybody that I use, all the professional staff I use, have come from recommendations from my neighbors and from people in the synagogue who have said, "Oh, that he's perfect, he's wonderful, you've got to try him." And for the most part, I've had some fantastic recommendations. My GP also has a list of very, very qualified specialists. So I'm comfortable with who she recommends.
Okay. And when you, I assume it depends on the doctor, the weights of how to make the appointment and all that sort of thing. Is that easy or more complicated?
It depends. The doctor that I use as my general practitioner unfortunately lost her other doctor that was in there. So it's a little bit more difficult to get an appointment with her right now, as you can imagine. Specialists, depending on the specialist, you could wait anywhere from a couple days to a month or two. It all depends on the specialties.
Which of course is the same way anywhere else in New York as well. That can definitely be. Marilyn, what are you experiencing or not?
Actually the opposite. As a snowbird, I've found that it's very difficult to get an internist. When I tried to make an appointment, they said June. Well, who knew that I was going to be here in June? I have asthma and tried to get an appointment with the pulmonary doctor. So I started calling in November for an appointment in January, and they said, "Oh, we'll put you on a list, we'll call you back." So, and I kept calling, and in December, "Oh, we still have you on the list, we'll call you back for January." And finally, when I was down here in January and called, they finally gave me an appointment with their nurse practitioner. So basic doctors I found difficult. Specialists I found easier. I was able to get an appointment with an orthopedist within 2 weeks. Also a podiatrist within a few days. So, and all the doctors with recommendations from people here. So yes, as a snowbird, it's hard to find.
Out of curiosity, is there any healthcare emergency, anything like that in Deerfield Beach? In the villages? Like if God forbid somebody had an emergency, is there anybody on call or something there?
There's tons of first med type places.
Okay.
And of course, hospitals are nearby.
Right.
Big hospitals are nearby.
Maureen, how about you? Is there anything, let's say, right nearby you for the God forbid, we don't want to know from it, but in case there's an emergency at some point,
we have the emergency med centers like Maryland does, and I'm about 6 or 8 blocks from Delray Community Hospital. So I do have some kind of a backup. It's not like in Chicago, there has to be a pharmacy open 24 hours a day within a certain area so that you can always get your prescription filled. I don't see that here.
Okay, things to think about. We're not getting into any major legalities because this is not nobody's specialty here, but just casually, have you noticed any tax changes for either one of you being down there? Marilyn, I'll ask you first. You're a snowbird, so that's a whole different.
Property taxes are more if you're not a legal resident of Florida. So I'm still a legal resident of New York, so I do pay more property taxes.
Okay. And Maureen, you are a legal resident down there, right?
I am as of January. I am a legal resident. Yes, I just did.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Thank you. But what happens?
How does that change things for you? Have you
noticed?
Well,
it reduces my property tax. It also, there is no state income tax in Florida, so that's another good thing to have. And purchasing your car tags and your licensing for your cars and boats, and well, I'm not sure about boats, but cars are much cheaper here than it is in Illinois.
Hmm.
So I've saved a lot of money on that.
Okay, so that's certainly good to know. Okay. If somebody else was planning to do this, either become a snowbird or permanently move down, what recommendations would you have for them? Is there anything else you would have done differently? If somebody said, I'm thinking about doing this, and all the people right now listening may have at some point in their life some dream of either having an additional home or actually relocating where it's nice and warm and not like it is, particularly now on a day in New York where, okay, we're in between snowstorms now. So the idea of moving to Florida, it could be very appealing. What thoughts would you have for doing anything, for either doing anything differently than you did it, or just in general, any, quick hacks that would be helpful for them? Marilyn, you just recently done it. So any ideas any suggestions you would have?
Just to come and see the place, meet some people. I personally did not rent here. Some people told me, oh, you should rent for a year or two, see what it's like. But I really think renting, you would have a very different experience than living here. I don't think you'd make friends as easily. Being an owner is very different. And I spoke to some people who rented first. So I don't think that's really necessary. I think just coming, looking around. So I don't think it's necessary to rent first. It is
Okay.
necessary to come and look around and talk to some people.
And without COVID or anything, at some point,
Yes.
the idea of spending a Shabbos, although we have no idea what that would look like, if that is possible.
Right. During COVID, I
It all
couldn't
changes.
take someone to see the shul. I couldn't let someone in to see the clubhouse or the pools. So yeah, not during COVID.
Right. Okay. With God's help, we will get past this soon and have some kind of a normal life. Maureen, what about you? Do you have any other thoughts of, or how you did things, or should it be done differently, or any other suggestions for people who might want to move? I mean, you are there almost permanently.
I will suggest one thing. Our show bought an apartment in Kings Point. So pre-COVID or after COVID, of course, what you can do is call the show up and make arrangements to spend a Shabbos here. That would give anybody that's thinking of moving here a chance to see what our show is like. Uh, Especially if you pick a weekend where we have a Shabbaton or something and you get a chance for Friday night and Saturday. And it's a lovely experience. It would give you a chance to see the facilities, to see what we have, our amenities, and decide if this is the kind of neighborhood or the kind of people you want to live with. Then maybe take a chance. I know people that rented and then bought, but for the most part, I see people buying. They're going very, very fast here. So I'm not sure that rental is really an option.
Okay, that's certainly an interesting point. So Maureen, I'm going to stay with you for a second. Well, we are all looking ahead to post-COVID with God's help soon. Okay, so when things are back to some sort of normal, tell us a little bit about the activities that you have in the shul, in the neighborhood. What are there things for people to do? Because it's so nice.
Pre-COVID, or we'll go post-COVID if it's the same thing. Kings Point has 3 clubhouses. There are pools and spas available. You can bring guests. There are 2 restaurants, unfortunately not kosher. There is 2 gyms here. There is woodworking, arts and crafts, and maybe 40 or 50 clubs that people can join with similar interests. Everything from a Brooklyn club, a Bronx club, all the way down to a Russian folk dancing club. And there is if you come down and you don't have transportation, we have loads of transportation. We have buses available that will take you almost all over. I suggest, and also the show. Our show is when there is no COVID, we have activities at least 3, 4 days a week. We have everything from women's to Hillam group, all the way to Friday night Shabbatones, to the Rabbi's Parsha on Wednesdays. We're very, very fortunate. And on Shabbos, we have a kiddush, and it's kind of like a sit down luncheon kind of kiddush, where you socialize. And then Rabbi Klein will give a little Devar Torah after the luncheon. And it's lovely. I look forward to having it's not the food, it's just the socialization. The rabbi and the Rebbetzins are there and gives you a chance to just meet and be, and I miss it terribly.
Hopefully you'll get back to it soon. Let me just ask you a question before I go to Marilyn. Maureen, you were talking about Kings Point. Now, is Kings Point like a community, let's say like Deerfield? Or is it, let's say, how big is that? And how does that relate to Delray?
I believe we have 7,400 apartments here. We
Wow.
are on two sides of Jog Road. We go from Linton all the way up to Atlantic on one side. We have gated community with professional security.
Is it 55 plus there?
It is a 55 plus
Oh, okay.
community. I find it more comfortable, but I'm sure there are people out there. There are loads of communities around here that are not 55 plus if you felt that you wanted to live in something a little bit younger. But we have all types of communities here, everything from Kings Point all the way to some of the Polo Club and some of the more expensive housing developments here.
But Kings Point is more reasonable, I guess.
Kings Point is more reasonable. We have loads of activities. We have shows 2 or 3 times a week that come from all over the country to perform here. As I said, we have a library here. We have a computer club here. It's and that's the thing that makes it easier to assimilate yourself here, because you find a club with people, you get to know these people, and they introduce you to other people. You go to the show, you meet people, they live in Kings Point, they introduce you to other people, and pretty soon you're awfully popular.
That's the way it should be. Marilyn, tell us about Deerfield in a hopefully non-COVID time. Or actually even tell us what it's like now,
Okay, non-COVID. Okay, so my first winter here, I was so busy between activities at the shul, the women's club, Amuna and Amit. I didn't even have time to do anything at the clubhouse. I was just too busy. But the clubhouse also offers tremendous amount of clubs and classes, ranging from jewelry making and painting and stained glass and computer classes and anything you can think of, ceramics. And then there's the gym. And then the gym has classes in aerobics and cycling. And then there's the pool, which has water aerobics. And there's just so much going on. You could be busy from morning to night. And then also shows. I would think the same shows you have. People tend to do all the condos. There's so much going on. And then came COVID and everything came to a stop. So now in COVID times, so there's less to offer, but the clubhouse, where the main pool is, you have to sign up for an hour and they limit how many people are allowed there. and they still do have water aerobics. And many of their classes are on Zoom. Stretching and posture and aerobics. So you can do many of those classes on Zoom, and the clubhouse classes, they just have a few on Zoom. Computer, posture, I think there were 2 other classes, which I can't remember. People in my building, in the afternoon, a bunch of the women sit outside in a circle, try to keep distance. As more people come, the circle gets bigger and bigger. The people on my floor, after candle lighting, a few of the women get together. We have catwalks. So on my floor, a few of the women will sit out on the catwalk.
Wait,
with
Marilyn, you want to
chairs.
explain what that is, what a catwalk is?
What a catwalk is. Okay, so how do I explain it? So in an apartment building, you have, when you open your door, you have a hallway. So this is like an outdoor hallway, is the best way to describe it.
That works. Okay, I think the people get the idea. It's safer, it's outside, fresh air, social distance. Let me
Right.
just ask you, before I move back to Maureen, let me just ask you, obviously we know in the spring, everywhere in the world, all the schools were shut down, here, there, everywhere. So the question is, now that, people are open up to some degree, Young Israel, Deerfield Beach, we know Kanai is a huge place. What, how is it for davening now? Is there still davening every day? Are there any shiurim? What's going on now?
Okay, so
In
now,
COVID.
so let me say what happened before. So before, I think we're the second largest Young Israel in the country. It is huge. And after, so Shabbos services, in the afternoon, people would go back to shul. The women would have a Tehillim group while the men were davening mincha, and then everyone, men and women, would have a Sudashli sheet with some speeches. The rabbi, someone would speech and give a Devar Torah, and then Marav and Havdalah together. It was really quite nice, because most shuls, only the men have Sudashli sheet. So there were like 6, 7 tables of women who went. So it was quite lovely. Okay, now the shul did reopen. For a while it was closed. So the shul has reopened, but you have to register ahead of time. And it's only people living here.
You register for davening, you're saying?
Yes, because they want to limit how many people are in there. So they have social distancing. In front of my building, they now, a bunch of men have mincha marav 7 days a week. An outside mincha marav. So that's what's doing with davening.
And for davening, now if somebody were, are they limiting the company from outside Deerfield?
Yes, only members.
Only members
no
coming in
guests.
at all, or only members coming for davening? I mean, can you have somebody come for dinner if you want to, or no?
No guests in shul, because there's not even enough for all the members.
Right, got it.
They were thinking of having a tent in the parking lot, but they didn't get enough people interested.
Okay, Maureen, you want to tell us what the activities are like in Delray now during COVID?
During COVID, unfortunately, we have very few activities, although we do have 5, 6 of our pools open. We do have our woodworking shop open. We have our gyms open, and we do have a couple shows, nothing really fantastic, not like we used to have. Our show is open on Shabbos. we're small yet, we're waiting, we're growing. People are just beginning to come out to go to shul. And we had, I think, about 40 or 45 people, men, and 8 to 10 women last Shabbos. I haven't been in there yet. I'm waiting for the 2 weeks to be up for my shot. And then
That's the next question.
right. And then I intend to go. I really I miss being in shul for Shabbos.
Okay, so my next question for you, the COVID, always the elephant in the room. Okay, so it's a double question. Number one is, how compliant do you find that people in your area are? Because in different areas of the country, we know that we see lots of different opinions and behaviors. So how do people act in the community, and how has it been getting the vaccine? There's lots of drama everywhere about getting the vaccine, but we hear that you people in Florida are way ahead. So I'm going to start with Maureen. So tell us about that. And you already told us that you're waiting for your 2 weeks, so you're ahead.
The governor of the state of Florida came and launched a shot initiative here. And we had the opportunity for everybody in our community and some outsiders to be given 2 shots of the vaccine, whether it be Pfizer or Moderna, depending on the day you got it. We had the National Guard, so it was very quick and efficient. And I was extremely pleased with the way that things were handled. It was done very, very well. I'm sorry we couldn't get more people from out of the community in, but there is a limit to what they could do. As far as the show, I'm so looking forward to this. We have had Zoom classes. Our sisterhood and our rabbis are fantastic. We have had Zoom classes all the way through. They've made us a part. We also have a phone chain where we call our members. We each get a list of, members to call to make sure everybody's fine, if they need anything or what we can do. That's part of the show that I belong to. And as I said, Zoom classes galore. We've had Zoom, we had a Zoom cooking demonstration with Susie Fishbein. We have a Zoom fashion show. We've had a lot. Our sisterhood is just fantastic. They've done a wonderful job. There's a Zoom book club. So if you have to be in this situation, I think they've handled it beautifully.
Wonderful. Marilyn, so tell us about how COVID's been in Deerfield, how people compliancy and all that, and also the vaccine.
Just to go back, we also have Zoom classes in Parsha and other things and activities from Sisterhood and Amit and Amuna on Zoom also. The vaccine, we were told when we were getting the vaccine here, and it was going to be 500 a day for about 10 days. You had to be a resident of Century Village and over 65, which wasn't hard for this community, but nobody from outside. It was only for Century Village, because the governor here, after people in the hospital, nurses and doctors in the hospital, and people in nursing homes decided anyone over 65 can get it. Where other states did not prioritize people over 65. So when it was offered in this community, it was just so easy. We were told when it was going to be online to get appointments, and it was start at 8 o'clock in the morning. I set my alarm for 7:45. I was on the computer at 8 o'clock. At 8:02, I had a choice of all 10 days, picked the date I wanted, and that's how I got my appointment. It was just so easy. And then the first shot, I did have to wait online a little bit. The second shot, I just walked right in, got my second shot. It was They just made it so easy. It was so wonderful.
Easy, not the way it is here. Not easy. Hopefully it will get easier. Okay, did you either one of you have anything you wanted to add more about COVID or what's doing, and did we cover that? So I think
I
everybody's,
think so.
the
Yeah.
bottom line is you get to be outside now, which is not something you can do in colder places. Okay, now I know Maureen touched on this, but I want to hear a little bit more from both of you. If somebody doesn't drive or is no longer driving or doesn't have access to a car, how does one get around, get to doctor's offices, go shopping, see friends or anything else? Marilyn, you want to share with us what it's like?
Okay, so first of all, Century Village is massive. So first, there are about 6 different routes that a minibus goes around in Century Village. So the routes take you in a circle. It stops in front of each section and takes you to the clubhouse. And every half hour they go. Then from the clubhouse, there are many different routes that you can go. It will take you to different supermarkets. You have your choice of supermarket, Publix, Aldi. Then there are different, and even the kosher supermarkets, the Grove, different shopping malls, if you like Marshalls, Target, Town Center, which has more upscale stores. It will also take you to the flea market. It will take you to the beach. And then even a regular city bus goes through. So you can manage very nicely without a car if you had to.
And there's also, of course, Uber also comes in, right?
Oh, of course, you can call it a taxi, that without saying.
And you can get in delivery of grocery items if you can arrange that.
You can get deliveries of grocery. You can get, Amazon loves me. Between Amazon and Walmart, I get so many deliveries every day.
Okay, Maureen, how about, you had told us a little bit about the buses and all, but would you say it's very similar, that there's, if somebody
They're
doesn't drive,
probably,
it's not a problem?
yeah, they're probably similar. We have smaller buses that go through the community. We also have buses that take you to the library, to the Palm Beach Public Library. We have buses that take you to shopping malls. We have buses that take you to Publix or to Winn-Dixie. It's really, and we do have public bus service right outside of our door almost. So yeah, it makes it so much easier to live here. It really is not difficult. And of course, Lyft and Uber, of course.
Yeah, of course. So I want to just mention, I think we are opening up the chat that will come to our administrator and myself. If anyone has some general questions, keep in mind, we're not asking anything specific. We're not asking the prices of housing. All of these places have very good realtors. What we will be doing when we send you the recording later, we're going to be sending you the names of the synagogues in Deerfield and in Delray, so that you can talk to the rabbis if you have any specific questions, and they, I'm sure, will be able to guide you to any realtors in the area that certainly can be helpful. But if you have any other general questions that you think that Marilyn and Maureen could answer, we'll see if we can have time for one or two. Oh, okay, this is a good one. What is the average age? And again, this is just general, in the Orthodox community of snowbirds. Do you have any idea of what you see? If you're like me, I'm a terrible judge of age. So to me, this is just a guesstimate on your part. Marilyn, what do you see in Deerfield? What do you think the average age is?
There's such a range. My next door neighbor is 95. And then there are friends who are in their 50s and are snowflakes. because they're
Oh,
working.
explain what a snowflake is. That's an important term. I
Oh,
learned about
okay.
that.
So I'm a snowbird because I come for the winter. I come for a couple of months. A snowflake is someone who kind of just drops in for a short period of time and goes back, and then comes a little late, a couple of months later, and drops in for a short time and then goes back. So they go back and forth, but don't stay for long periods of time.
There's a whole language everybody has to learn. I also heard that sometimes snowflakes, I heard this from another rabbi down a number of years ago, is that sometimes snowflakes will have a home somewhere not in Florida in the United States. Then they'll have a home in Florida. Then they might have a home in Eretz Yisrael, and they just kind of go about. So for those who can do it, that's lovely, or children in these various areas. So that was another definition I saw of snowflakes. What do you say, Maureen, about is there an average age in your area?
There really is an average age, although I must admit that our average age is going down. I think when I first came here, there was a large group of women that were in their 80s. I think the average age has gone down, and I would say that the average age for the group of us is somewhere in the 60s and early 70s.
Okay.
And it's very cohesive, like I said. And for the most part, we don't have that. Well, we have a few snowflakes, and we miss them terribly when they go home, though.
Okay. Maureen, this one is for you. In your synagogue, would you, or in your area, how large would you say the modern Orthodox contingent is in Delray? It's probably not as big as Deerfield, but how big is your shul in non-COVID times? What would you say a typical Shabbos non-COVID would be?
Typical Shabbos season, because don't forget that we have a lot of people that go home for the summer. So season-wise, I'd say that when we're in season, we have as many as 250. Now, we've had 300 for some of our programs and had to turn people away. Besides us, there is also Das, which is on Atlantic and by the Glick shopping store. They have a storefront Orthodox Jewish community there, and there is a Chabad. So we do have a presence in Delray Beach.
Wonderful. Maureen, somebody wants to know, what is the section of Kings Point that you live in? Is there a name for your area?
I live in Saxony, and the reason that I live in Saxony is, and I do have to tell you, we're spread out just the same as Maryland's community is. And when I came here, there was mobility issues involved. So we took the closest section. There's two close sections, Flanders and Saxony. We cross one street, walk down half a block, and we're at the show.
And Marilyn, in your case also, you chose a closer place to the shul as opposed to way out.
Within walking distance. It's not the closest place, but it's within walking distance.
It worked. Somebody wants to know, and we'll ask you each separately, do the pools and gyms in your area, are there any, let's say, separate swimming or separate classes times that you're aware of?
There isn't in ours. I will tell you that truthfully. There are certain times of the day that the pools may not be occupied, but there are no, we don't have somebody that says the women will swim from 10 to 12.
Mm-hmm. And Marilyn, how about in Deerfield? Are there any places there that are separate?
I don't believe so.
Okay, it's something that people need to know about. Okay, 1 second. Is there a membership fee to pay for the condo? I'm not sure what a membership fee is.
There actually is.
Oh, and Marilyn, what about you? Do you know about a membership fee?
We pay 3 different fees. In our development, each building is its own condo. So we pay a condo fee. We pay a fee for the grounds, the company that takes care of the grounds, and we pay a fee for the clubhouse. But all three together are quite reasonable.
And those fees, is that what you use for the classes, the buses, the shows? You know, once
Right.
you're there, and there's no difference for a snowbird as opposed
No.
to, you know,
No,
they don't discriminate.
they don't discriminate.
Is that the same for you, Maureen? Everybody once you,
No, ours is a little bit different than
Oh.
that one. When you buy a condo in Kings Point, now this is just for Kings Point, you are issued an ID card and stickers for your car to get in and out of the gates. Right now, the cost of joining the it's a golf and country club is $1,500. This is a one-time fee. We also pay HOAs, which everybody does, their condo monthly fee. Our HOAs include your cable television, and it includes all the landscaping. It includes some upkeep, the roofs and things like that. It includes a lot of things that you would have to do if you had your own house. And it's fairly reasonable. It really is.
oh, somebody just made a comment here. I guess this is Marilyn, must be one of your neighbors. Somebody says in Century Deerfield Beach, there is a private women's water aerobics class on Sunday morning in the Berkshire pool and a Sunday through Friday morning private women something. I didn't finish that.
Oh, okay. I'm glad they
so
corrected
good
me.
to know. Thank you for sharing that information. Century Village is so big that you wouldn't know everything. So that we appreciate that. Okay, what else we have here? Oh, do the apartments, and we'll ask you each separately, have their own washers and dryers? Maureen, do you have a washer and dryer right where you are, or do you have to go
As a
out?
matter of fact, Kings Point has washer and dryers in any apartment. Mine is in my bathroom, which is it's really kind of funny. They kind of carved out half of a closet, and I have my washer and dryer in my bathroom. So that's all you do is you get out of the shower and dump the towel in the washer.
That totally works. How about you, Marilyn? Do you have to go out or it's there?
It's on the floor. It's not in your apartment.
Okay, what else do we have? We have a couple more minutes. I don't know that we're going to get to everything. Well, and I assume this is different now in COVID anyway, but somebody wants to know about rules for grandchildren staying and visiting. So we already heard that they can't come to shul now. I guess if it's not COVID, am I correct that that's not a problem, but now during COVID, could somebody have, not just a grandchild, could somebody have somebody stay overnight in their apartment? Is that an issue now during COVID?
It's not an issue without COVID. You can have, and it's not an issue with COVID, by the way, as long as the person as long as you are over 55, you can have younger guests, but you must be there.
Right.
So
Okay.
if non-COVID, my grandchildren love the pools here. And there was a pool specifically for visitors here. And that's their biggest thrill in the world. They go swimming every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Marilyn, do you know anything about any visitors in general at Deerfield?
Well, when you're there, you can have anyone coming.
Even in COVID?
Even in COVID.
Right, okay. They just can't necessarily go to the activities and all. Okay.
In COVID, they can't.
I see some hands raised. We're not going to acknowledge that. Please put your questions in the chat. We'll have time for maybe one or two more. Oh, Marilyn, can you just repeat the name of your section, please?
Upminster K.
Okay. And somebody wants to know, are there, beyond Young Israel of Deerfield Beach, are there other synagogues in Deerfield Beach?
Yes, right next door to it, there's a conservative synagogue. And I think it's like across from it, there's a Chabad.
Okay, so you don't have to go too far. Okay.
And I'm sure in Deerfield Beach, outside of Century, there are plenty of synagogues. I mean, I would assume.
Okay. There's a few other questions here, but some of these are really not appropriate for us. Oh, are small pets allowed in either community?
We are a no pet community. However, because of the American Acts for Disability, there are service animals, and emotional support animals. And these all have to be approved, and you have to pick up from your animals. They're very, very strict about it.
I would imagine. Now, if, let's say, Marilyn, when you go back to New York, or Maureen, when you go to Chicago, can you allow somebody else to stay in your apartment if you're not there?
You're not supposed to.
A close relative, I
Mhm.
think you're allowed to.
Over 55? Is that,
Um,
we're not going to hold you to this.
I'm not sure.
Okay, people have to ask, they go, this is, we are just having casual conversation here. We are not taking any responsibility if anything, any information was not correct.
Right.
Don't, we have disclaimers on all of our spirit programs. So we're just trying to give some friendly information. I think that's just about it. As I said, we will be giving you information how to reach the rabbis of the community in their offices. So that should be helpful. I want to thank Marilyn, Maureen so much. I think you really gave a lot of wonderful, wonderful information for people that are, oh, so I see some thumbs going up. So, okay, everybody agrees. We thank you all, both of you, for spending your time with us and making us really, really want to get out of the cold areas where some of us are living and see the warmth. I know, it's not so warm down there. Guess what?
Everything's
warmer.
relative.
Yeah, you're not looking out the window the way I am to see all the snow built up. I can't, our deck right now is a riot. The snow is like piled up this high. So anyway, thank you both for joining us, and thank everybody else. I want to thank everybody else for joining us this morning. Okay, and just a couple of announcements for next week. So on Tuesday, you'll be hearing all about this in today's today's recording. Tuesday is another pre-recorded session. It will not be live. You will get the, as long as you register, you'll get the link hopefully early in the morning. And that is going to be another one of our series of gluten-free cooking. It is fabulous gluten-free Purim desserts with Elaine Bodenheimer. So we just recorded it yesterday, and you will have that plus the recipes. If you register for it today, you'll just get an announcement saying we're going to get back to you. But hopefully it'll be Tuesday morning, if not late Monday night, you will get everything. You'll get the link to the program, which you can watch anytime you want. And of course, the recipes so that you can follow along. That's Tuesday. Thursday, we will have grandparenting special needs children. That'll be given by my colleagues in Yachad. And that will be Thursday. That will be a live program. Also, with the emails you've been getting, we will be having, we haven't decided when it will be aired yet, but we will be providing a program called Ask the Editor. And we're talking about the editor of Jewish Action, Nechama Carmel. This is the OU's award-winning magazine that comes out 4 times a year. I'm sure all of you receive it. And it's been going, we have had some amazing topics that have been covered. And if you have any questions, she would like to know before she prepares her presentation, she wants to answer the questions that you might have. So there's a little form to ask questions. So we're going to, recommend that all of you do that. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today and thank Maureen and Marilyn. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Be healthy, be safe, have a good Shabbos, and I hope everybody can get their vaccine as soon as possible. Take care.